Afternoon, everybody. After a few days of snow in Liverpool, the sun came out this morning. It's beautiful here in the city. Hope you're well wherever you are. I think that's probably melted by now. We're gearing up for a busy night of boxing in the city tomorrow night. 9 fights on the bill, starting around 4:30 on Before the Bell. 5 fights on the channel on DAZN. Jack Cullen in a massive opportunity against Diego Pacheco. His first opportunity, of course, across the Atlantic. He's been in camp with David Benavidez ahead of his fight with Kelly Plant next weekend. Of course, Cullen has been and done a full camp with Callum Smith as well. Both very, very prepared for a massive opportunity on Saturday.
Oh, huge for both. We find out how good Pacheco really is. We know how good Cullen is. We know how tough he is, how game he is. He's won some big fights. He's also experienced losses. So this isn't alien for Jack Cullen. He's gonna look. We spoke to him on Wednesday, and he truly believes he's got enough in the tank, the experience and the know-how to rip the scripts and really make a name for himself. Yeah. He's going to give it everything, and I just feel with what's on the line, with I wouldn't call it pressure from Pacheco, but that wanting to impress. I just feel he may fight out character slightly. You might see him really, biting down on the gumshoe and letting big shots go.
Hasn't been against a kind of partisan crowd either, that could get on his back in crucial moments.
And I just think for Jack, this is his moment. This really is his big moment. And I just feel the ingredients there for it to be a real cracking contest. And you go down the card as well. I'm just so glad this bill's still going ahead, because it means so much to these fights, to keep their careers on track, to keep that momentum going. Some of them are at different stages of their careers, novice pros to guys like Robbie Davies Jr. and Foley, who, a defeat at this stage of their careers damaging, but the winner is very close to something big. So it's a really good show, Chris.
Yeah, the crowd's starting to fill up here. Don't know if we've got any shots of that, but they're a decent number filling in to watch the weigh-in this afternoon. All of the fighters will be hitting the scales in a few moments' time. We've got 4 fights for you on Before the Bell. George Lidard is in action against Daniel Zawislik from Rudislaka in Poland. Lidard looked brilliant in his debut, getting a very early stoppage. Paddy Lacey and James McCarthy in an all-Liverpool battle in our 3rd contest on the bill. Campbell Hatton, I think, is 2nd against Michael Gonji from Frankfurt in Germany. And then Aki Fiaz in a really tough scrap against Dean Dodge, who pushed Reece Bellotti hard for that Southern Area title a few months ago, and has shown that he can really hold a shot and he can dish it out, and he's dangerous and willing to go out on his shield as well. I think the sense is he'll probably bring the best out in Aki Fiaz. So those 4 will be on our Before the Bell section on YouTube, starting at 4:30. I'll be sat at the commentary desk with Spider Richards. I think Kevin Ajaka is going to pop in and join us as well, because he's been doing a bit of sparring with Paddy Lacey, and of course he's now recovering from hand surgery, so it'll be good to see him. And then the DAZN feed starts live at 7 o'clock. Rhiannon Dixon and Vicky Wilkinson will contest the inaugural Commonwealth lightweight title. Both fought Christine Shergold in the last 6 months with differing outcomes. I think Rhiannon Dixon goes into that a fair favourite, but they'll hit the scales shortly and face each other. Peter McGrail back in action after signing to Matchroom Boxing a few months ago. He's up against Nicolas Patelli from Argentina. Another 10-rounder scheduled, as it was against Alexander Espinoza, but he got the job done in 4 there. Will this one go the rounds? Johnny Fisher and Alfonso Damiani, very unlikely to do the rounds. I think Damiani from Italy looks okay, but I think Johnny Fisher probably will have a little bit too much for him. That's our 3rd contest of the night. Heavyweight, of course, over 8 rounds. And then, as you mentioned, Robbie Davies Jr. and Darragh Foley. One that's, I think, just captured our imaginations this week, because Foley has, as we know, come in on short notice, 3 weeks, done a long journey over from Australia, but everything about this, of his demeanour, the way he's speaking, and the shape of him, seems like a man that really, really believes he can.
Yeah, he's a character. It was fun talking to him. But he fancies this, he really does. It's a massive opportunity for him. 4 wins on the bounce, last 4 fights, picking up 4 minor titles. So confidence is really, really high. And you need that in a fight of this magnitude. You need that. The crowd are going to be against him, but he knows how to win fights, and that's important.
Davies Jr. doesn't really do dull fights. I think one of the fights of the year, 2019, I remember him and Lewis Ritson doing battle. He's improved since then. Feel like he's kind of peaked as a fighter. He's getting the best out of his body now. Little shades of vulnerabilities, but as we spoke to him on Wednesday, he mentioned rightly, he said my powers of recovery are good, so when he is hurt, A, he fights back well, B, he recovers well, and C, it's just so entertaining in those moments, because he can be in control of fights and suddenly things can turn on their head. But he's great to watch, Robbie.
Well, that's why we like him on the bill, because there are those moments of frailty where it does get caught and he can be dropped, but at 33 now, going into his 27th contest, confidence is higher, the experience is there, and the boxing know-how is there. I just hope he doesn't take Foley lightly. You know, I know he had the Pyro fight and he was really looking forward to that, and that would have really crept him nearer to bigger things. But Foley, this is his opportunity. So Davies Jr. is going to have to be at his best.
Yeah, good to have Peter McGrail back. We had him for his debut on the Smith Fowler undercard a couple of years ago. He's in his 7th contest as well. And I'm hearing now that all the fighters are backstage and ready to weigh in. So without further ado, for George Liddard and Daniel Zaviz, let's just hand you over to David Diamante.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to see everybody here. Welcome to Liverpool, England, for the official weigh-in for a big night of fights taking place at the M&S Bank Arena here on Saturday night. Now, the whole card is being brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing. We're sponsored by Betfred, Stagefront, and JD Sports, and of course, all the action will go out live around the world exclusively on DAZN. What a fight card we have, 9 fights, 2 title fights, and at the top of the bill, we got a real knockout artist, the young Diego Pacheco, in a tough fight against Jack Cullen. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring the fighters at this time up to the stage so they can face the scale and face each other. Our first contest, 4 rounds in the middleweight division. Making his way to the stage this time, he's a 17-fight veteran hailing from Poland. Please welcome Daniel Sheviaslik. Sheviaslik. And his opponent now making his way to the stage, his young professional record thus far perfect, 1 fight, 1 victory, and that victory came by way of knockout. Here is the 4-time amateur national champion, the 2-time international gold medalist, fighting out of Billericay, Essex, ladies and gentlemen, George Liddard. Down to the scale, the pole, Daniel Sheviaslik. $161.1 for Daniel Sheviaslik. 161.1. And now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, George Liddard. $162.1 for George Liddard, 162.1. Liddard, Sheviaslik, 4 rounds, middleweights kicking us off. Liverpool, England, Matchroom Boxing, live on DAZN.
Chevy's looking in really good shape there, as is George Liddard. We're speaking to Kev Mitchell yesterday, Darren, about young Liddard, and does a lot of sparring with all the boys in the gym, John Ryder, Spider Richards, Conor Ben, all of them, and Felix Cash too, all of them said what a handful he is. Yeah,
he's a very good fighter. I was just speaking to Tony Sims, and Tony doesn't blow smoke up anyone's backside if they're not a good fighter. And I think aside from the tactical and the technical ability that he has, he's hard working, and that's so important.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next contest, 6 rounds in the super lightweight division. Now making his way to the stage, his professional record, 4 wins, 2 defeats. He has 1 draw. He fights out of Frankfurt, Germany. Please welcome Mikhail Goncha. And his opponent now making his way to the stage. His professional record, a perfect 1, 9 fights, 9 victories, 3 of them coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Manchester, England, please welcome Campbell, the Hurricane Hatton. Now to the scale, Mikhail Goncha. 136.14 for Gonja, 136.14 for Mikhail Gonja. And down to the scale, the young undefeated Mancunian Charge Campbell, the Hurricane Hatton. 140.5 for Campbell, the Hurricane Hatton. Hatton versus Gonja, 6 rounds, super lightweights, Liverpool, England, Matchroom Boxing, live on DAZN.
So this one, second on before the bell, and looking to go 10-0 tomorrow night against Mikhail Gonja from Italy, who is himself looking to cause another upset against the novice prospect. He was not expected to beat John Bielenberger from Germany, who's got a decent backing out there with a promoter and broadcaster, but he did, and I think he fancies making a run of it here. He's had 4 straight wins, having lost 2 of his first 3. It's quite awkward, quite wide with his work, and you think that if Hatton keeps nice and compact and is punching to the body like he has been, he'd be a favourite.
They're the shots, the body shots, picking them so nicely, the tapping upstairs, dropping the left to the body, shades of his dad, and I think that's exactly what he's got to do in this one, Chris.
Okay, well, a really good fight to cap things off on before the bell. Aki Fiaz and Dean Dodge. Before we head to those 2, Paddy Lacey and James McCarthy in a Merseyside derby, both of them ready to hit the scales.
All right, I'm really quite excited to see this next fight. It's a local derby. 2 Scousers going head-to-head. Now making his way to the stage. It's a 6-round middleweight affair. Now making his way to the stage. 2-4-1 the record. Fighting out of Liverpool, please welcome Jay McCarthy. And his opponent now making his way to the stage, undefeated as a professional, 7 wins, no defeats, 1 win coming by way of knockout. Also from Liverpool, ladies and gentlemen, Paddy Power Lacey. And now to the scale, Jay McCarthy. $160.15 for Jay McCarthy. 160.15. And now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, Paddy Lacey. $162.14 for Paddy Lacey. 162.14. Lacey versus McCarthy, 6 rounds, middleweights, Matchroom Boxing, Liverpool, England, live on DAZN.
Yeah, the only fighter to stop James McCarthy was Michael Hennessy last time out, but that was at very, very short notice. Only 2 or 3 days he had to get ready as a replacement in fight week. Paddy Lacey will enjoy the same height and reach advantages that Hennessy had. Get the sense if he can get his attention early, get his respect and keep that gap, then that will favour him. But McCarthy's really, really good.
Yeah, look, I love a local derby. Yeah. It brings the best out of the fighters, and I'm sure it'll be a tasty affair.
Yeah, a bit of area title vibes, I think, for this one. So that will be 3rd on before the bell, before Aki Fiaz and Dean Dodge battle in firework action in our 4th contest. Ring walk scheduled round about 6:15. Both fighters are ready to weigh in. Let's head back to the stage.
All right, next to the scales, 8 rounds in the super featherweight division. And now making his way to the stage, his professional record, 9 victories, 2 defeats. He has 1 draw with 3 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights at a Yeovil in Somerset. Please welcome Dean the Machine Dodge. Dodge. And his opponent now making his way to the stage, undefeated as a professional, 10 fights, 10 victories, fighting out of Oldham in Lancashire. Ladies and gentlemen, Aqib Fiyaz. Fiyaz. Now to the scale, Dean Dodge. 132.15 for Dean the Machine Dodge, 132.15. And now to the scale, the undefeated Aqib Fiyaz. $134.7 for Aqib Fiyaz, 134.7.
Half a pound over what was agreed. It'll be interesting to see what they say about that one. But well, that aside, Dean Dodge looks in really good shape. I mean, you can't fake that kind of condition. He's clearly had a very good camp.
No, you can't. And he's a very good fighter. He's strong.
He looks
he's
big
tough.
too, doesn't he?
He does look big. You see that against Reece Bellotti. I know Reece was kind of stepping up a weight, but he looked really, really big in there. Yeah, I've no doubt this one will catch fire early on.
Aqib Fiyaz, Dean Dodge, 8-round super featherweights matchroom boxing, live on DAZN from Liverpool, England.
Yeah, he took some unbelievable shots against Bellotti as well. He was stopped in the second half of that fight, but really pushed him around, and we don't see that often with Bellotti. That was for the Southern Area title, so he is going to bring the heat to Aqib Fiyaz. How will he deal with it? Will it bring the best out in him? There's no way it's going to be a dull fight, that one. So that will conclude our 4 fights on before the bell. As I mentioned, myself and Spider Richards will be on the commentary desk for that one. All starts at 4:30 with George Liddard and Daniel Zawislik, Paddy Lacey and James McCarthy. After Campbell Hatton and Michael Gonji do battle, and then of course we'll see Aqib Fiyaz and Dean Dodge, which should take us through to round about 6:45, giving you a 15-minute break before we go live on the main broadcast on DAZN local time, 7 o'clock for Rhiannon Dixon and Vicky Wilkinson will contest the inaugural Commonwealth lightweight title. Peter McGrail, Nicholas Matelli will be second in action, and then Johnny Fisher and Alfonso Damiani. Those are our first 3. And I think the fighters I'm hearing are ready to weigh in. So without further ado, Rhiannon Dixon and Vicky Wilkinson will hit the stage. Let's hand you back to David.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next contest, 2 undefeated fighters vie for the vacant Commonwealth Lightweight Championship. What a fight this is going to be. Now making her way to the stage. She is undefeated in her campaign as a professional with a record of 5 fights, no defeats. She has 1 draw. She fights out of Womburn in Staffordshire. Ladies and gentlemen, Vicky Williamson. And her opponent now making her way to the stage. She is also undefeated. She's a southpaw, professional record, 7 fights, 7 victories. Fighting out of Warrington, ladies and gentlemen, Rhiannon Dixon. And now to the scale, Vicky Wilkinson. 132.1 for Vicky Wilkinson, 132.1. And now to the scale, the undefeated Rhiannon Dixon. 134.12 for Rhiannon Dixon.
Vicky Wilkinson coming in at £3 or so under the limit, but that's to be expected. She boxed for the Commonwealth title at super featherweight last time out, so coming up from the weights, Rhiannon Dixon, about half a pound under there, so bang on the weight. So we have a fight, the Commonwealth lightweight title on the line for the first time ever in the women's division. Over 10 rounds to open our show in Liverpool, live on DAZN tomorrow night.
Dixon versus Wilkinson, 10 rounds for the vacant Commonwealth Lightweight Championship. Nixon Hill, undefeated fighters, Matchroom Boxing, Liverpool, England, live on DAZN.
And you will be able to put into words what it means to win that belt on the way up.
I'll give you that 50 quid
No
later.
worries, 75.
Yeah, look, it's a very good title to win. It was the first title I ever won, major title if you like, major domestic title anyway. And it meant the world to me. And look, I think it's a good fight. I do. It's just the only issue is for me when I look at their fights with their common opponent, Christine Shergold. It was complete polar opposites in performance-wise. Rhiannon Dixon looked so good. I honestly was so impressed with her. On the flip side, Wilkinson didn't look so great. So, look, styles make fights. Anything can happen.
Peter McGrail up next against Nicholas Batelli, the Youth Olympic gold medalist, senior double world medalist, Commonwealth Games champion on the Gold Coast, European champion and two-time other European medals. A real talent and looking to go 7-0 tomorrow night in a 10-round super bantamweight contest. He and his opponent Nicholas Batelli are ready to weigh in.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next contest, 10 rounds in the super bantamweight division. Now making his way to the stage, his professional record, 14 victories, 7 defeats. He has 8 wins coming by way of knockout. Peleando fuera Salta, Argentina. Damas y caballeros, Nicholas Nahuel Pitbull Batelli. Opponent now making his way to the stage. He is undefeated in his campaign as a professional with a record of 6 wins, no defeats. 5 out of his 6 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the 2008 Commonwealth Games gold medalist representing the Everton Red Triangle Club, fighting out of right here in Liverpool. Please welcome Peter Blood McGrail. And out of the scale, Nicholas Nahuel Pitbull Batelli. $123.12 for the young RG Charge, 123.12 for Batelli. And out of the scale, ladies and gentlemen, the undefeated Liverpudlian Peter Blood McGrail. 123.8 for Peter McGrail, 123.8. McGrail versus Batelli, 10 rounds, super bantamweights, Matchroom Boxing, live on DAZN from Liverpool, England.
Yeah, I really like this fight, you know. Mentioned that Batelli fought another southpaw in Sultan Zauerbeck, who's a lot bigger than Peter McGrail, and I think probably one punch power is maybe a little bit more spiteful, but he got hurt in that fight. He led with the left hand to the body. Batelli countered him on the right before he could get his head out the way, and he put him down, and he had a big moment in that round before Zauerbeck turned the switch and stopped him, so we know he can punch. He's got a big height and reach advantage here. McGrail, a very different sort of southpaw to Zauerbeck, though, will cause him a different set of problems, won't he?
I agree with you totally. This is brilliant matchmaking. It's a very good opponent for Peter McGrail at this stage in his career. Batelli can fight. But Peter McGraw's special. He really is.
Yeah. Johnny Fisher back in action, bringing nearly 1,000 fans up from all parts of the country tomorrow night. His opponent, Alfonso Damiani's made the journey from Lazio. Both fighters are ready to weigh in, so let's let them hit the scales.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next contest, 8 rounds in the heavyweight division. And now making his way to the stage, his professional record, 6 victories against 2 defeats. He has 2 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights out of Rio de Lazio, Italia. Please welcome Alfonso, the Prof. Damiani. And his opponent now making his way to the stage. He is undefeated as a professional with a record of 7 fights, no defeats, 6 of his 7 wins coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Romford, ladies and gentlemen, Johnny, the Romford Bull Fisher. And out of the scale, the Prof. Alfonso Damiani. 233.13 for Damiani. 233.13 for Damiani. And now to the scale, the Romford Bull, Johnny Fisher. 240.12 for the Romford Bull. 240.12 for Johnny Fisher. Fisher, Damiani, 8 rounds, heavyweights, Matchroom Boxing, Liverpool, England, live on DAZN.
Yeah, he's been out stateside. Fisher mentioned to us on Wednesday, sparring with Carlos Takam and doing some more rounds with Joe Joyce, developing very nicely as a fighter. Alfonso Damiani looks in really good shape, but don't think he's going to have enough to trouble Fisher. Do you think this is going to last the distance? I get the sense that you're not sure.
No, I don't. And look, Johnny Fisher's a wrecking ball. He's so physically strong and he can punch with both hands, as you should as a heavyweight. Damiani, when look, on the back foot, he's not great. No. He leans back, he leaves his hands where they are, chin's up in the air. I think his chin is there to be caught. Well,
got a really good fight for you in our chief support. Robbie Davies Jr. looking to push up in the 140-pound rankings. Darragh Foley on 3 weeks' notice, coming over from Australia, the Irishman, to upset the odds here. These two will do battle over 10 rounds for our main event tomorrow night, live on DAZN from the Echo Arena. Both fighters are ready to hit the scales.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to weigh in the chief support of the evening for Saturday night, and it should be a fun contest. Right now, 10 rounds in the super lightweight division. Right now, making his way to the stage, he's a southpaw with a professional record of 21 victories. He has 4 defeats, 1 draw, and 9 wins coming by way of knockout. He proudly fights out of Bondi, New South Wales, Australia. Please welcome Darragh Super Foley. And his opponent now making his way to the stage, his professional record, 23 victories, 3 defeats. He has 15 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former British, the former Commonwealth, the former European, and the former WBA Continental Super Lightweight Champion, fighting out of Kirby, Liverpool, England, Robbie Davies Jr. And now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, Darragh Super Foley. 139.6 for Darragh Super Foley. 139.6. And now to the scale, Robbie Davies Jr. 139.12 for the tough veteran Scouser. 139.12 for Robbie Davies Jr.
Yeah, crucial fight for Davies Jr. last time out against Javier Molina. Had to weather a couple of storms in a contest that he largely dominated. Darragh Foley, you can tell from speaking to him Wednesday, he's done his research in these last 3 weeks. Done 15 pounds in that time. He said, no excuses at all, I'm ready to go. And he will not miss an opportunity if he gets that man hurt tomorrow night. He says he's going to take it with both hands.
I think this will be fight of the night. There's two tough blokes, both vastly experienced.
Robbie Davies Jr., Darragh Foley, 10-round super lightweights, chief support, Saturday night Matchroom Boxing, Liverpool, England, live on DAZN.
Yeah, I think it'll be a cracker, this one, Chris.
Right, for our two main events is Jack Cullen, who's put in some brilliant performances in the last 3 years. He has, though, been the Neely man on a couple of occasions, but he is in the shape of his life with just a little edge to him that I don't think, ever seen before. I remember speaking to him when Emery Kukor was replaced by Kevin Saggio. He was lackadaisical about that, maybe too relaxed going into that one. He knows the danger that is in front of him tomorrow, and there's a total absence of any complacency in his work, and he says, I cannot and will not lose this tomorrow night. Diego Pacheco, a point to prove if he wants to be considered a bona fide contender in the 168-pound division. These two will collide in our main event, and they are ready to weigh in.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome everybody here today to Liverpool, England, for a big night of fights taking place at the M&S Bank Arena. And today we are doing the official weigh-in, and right now it's time to weigh in the main event of the evening, as Mr. Eddie Hearn from Matchroom Boxing is proud to present 10 rounds for the vacant WBO International Super Middleweight Championship. Now making his way to the stage, please welcome, with a professional record of 21 victories, 3 defeats, 1 draw, and 9 wins coming by way of knockout, fighting out of Little Lever, here is the former English and IBF International Super Middleweight Champion, Jack Little Lever's Meat Cleaver, Cullen. And his opponent now making his way to the stage. He is undefeated as a professional with a record of 17 wins and no defeats. 14 of his 17 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights out of South Central Los Angeles, California, USA. Here is the hard-hitting, the young knockout artist, and the reigning and undefeated WBC, USNBC Silver Super Middleweight Champion, Diego Pacheco. Now to the scale, Jack Cullen. 167.8 for Jack Cullen, 167.8 pounds for Little Lever's Meat Cleaver. And now to the scale, the young, undefeated, hard-hitting Diego Pacheco. 166.7 for Diego Pacheco, 166.7. Pacheco, Jack Cullen, 10 rounds for the vacant WBO International Super Middleweight Championship. Matchroom Boxing live on DAZN from Liverpool, England.
Yeah, Pacheco is he's done Pacheco's done 8 rounds on a couple of occasions. Can Jack Cullen take him some rounds? He's shown a little bit of vulnerability early in fights, Cullen, against John Docherty. Downfield is cashed down, but he has got up in those instances and battled back into these occasions. It could be the story again tomorrow night. But Diego Pacheco shown a lot of composure over the years, very calm, very measured with his work, and it sort of cranks up the front foot pressure as the months go on. Just don't fall off the stage, because you remember that last time, and if you do this time, you're going to go through a whole desk.
I like now, I go to the lads, do you want me to jump on the stream? And they just ignore me. I go, I'm just going to jump on anyway.
And here you are. This is, I think, grown in people's estimations as a fight tomorrow night. And for Diego Pacheco, he's going to have to show probably more than he has shown to this point.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting when you look at the 2 fights, Davies against Foley and Pacheco against Cullen. It was a decision, is like, which one's now going to headline, you know, with the Callum Smith fight falling through. Robbie Davies is from Liverpool, and I think that's a really good fight. Foley's a good character, but I think when you look at the future of boxing, the future of Matchroom here and in America, Diego Pacheco is one of the guys that we pin the hopes on to carry the flag and go and win world championships from South Central LA. Got a huge following out there. There's quite a few have travelled actually with him as well. And I think it's a really good test for him, because we live in a world of hype. It's my job to do that. But he's never really boxed at Jack Cullen's level. And I'm not saying Jack Cullen's a world beater, but he's a very, very good European level, tough kid with big support. As he said, that's got a big set of cojones, and we'll give it everything. And I think we'll find out a lot about Diego Pacheco. Yeah. Even the week, even stepping up there today, you know, he's always been on the show at 7 o'clock. He's always been 4 or 5 fights down. He's never been there. Now he's headlining. It may bring a superstar on. You know, I feel like when you've got ability, when you've got that star quality, this kind of platform will take you to that next level. Yeah. We may see a special performance from him tomorrow.
It's been a division in transition, isn't it? But there's some very good fighters coming through. Ali Akhmedov and David Morrell and Vladimir Shishkin, and so a few that are just creeping through. Eric Bazinian as well from Canada. A win like this, and then another bona fide win in the States. He's right in that pack then, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 18-0 if he wins tomorrow night. He's still a baby. I mean, you can see the difference on the scales to when he first signed at 17. He's really getting his man strength now. But it's not just the nights under the bright lights in the arenas. It's the sparring with Dimitri Bivol, with Canelo Alvarez, with David Benavidez. There's top quality sparring out in Los Angeles. But I'm going to be really interested to see how he handles tomorrow night. If he goes out there and does a job on Jack Cullen, I feel like it's a big statement. And all those names you mentioned, they're the future of the super middleweight division. And so is Diego Pacheco.
Good stuff. Robbie Davies Jr., high risk, high reward for him. Had to weather a couple of storms last time out in a fight that he dominated in parts. Darragh Foley seems to know that if he gets an opportunity and he'll capitalise on that in ways that we didn't see last time out.
Yeah, you know what, with Foley, I feel like a lot of the fighters that come over with a lot of talk, sometimes talk, but go in there and fiddle around and don't take the opportunity with both hands. I hope Darragh Foley goes for it tomorrow night, because 1, we'll get a great fight, and 2, it will give him a chance. If he tries to fiddle around, you know, in the southpaw stance and be tricky, he's not going to win this fight. He has to stick it on Robbie Davies, he has to trade with him in spots, and he has to try and hurt him and land one on him. I agree with Darragh Foley. I think we have seen a couple of chinks in the armour from Robbie Davies, maybe a little bit undermotivated in fights that he's been in, but this could be another one. Set to fight Liam Paro, get a world ranking, all of a sudden Darragh Foley steps up with everything to gain. And Robbie Davies is probably in a fight that's not motivating him as much as the Paro fight was. But I just hope Foley goes for it, because if he goes for it and not gets lucky, but if he does stop Robbie Davies Jr., it will be a massive statement for him.
Do you feel their careers are on the line?
Yeah, I mean, when we say careers on the line, we say that in nearly every fight. It all depends what your ambitions are. Yeah. If you want to be a world champion, then their careers are on the line tomorrow night. I mean, Darragh Foley's not really in a position, but Robbie Davies Jr. is ranked. Yeah. He has ambitions to fight for the world title. If he loses to Darragh Foley, that's over forever.
And those belts are starting to splinter at the top, and so there are going to be opportunities they probably wouldn't have been 2 years ago.
Yeah, and what you'll see when you get a fragmentation of the belts for an undisputed champion is fighters getting opportunities that might not normally get them. And I'm talking about a lot of our guys at 140. I'm talking about Steve Spark, I'm talking about Liam Paro, I'm talking about Robbie Davies Jr., Montana Love, Richardson Hitchens. Anyone that's in the top 10 right now in one of the governing bodies at 140 is going, do you know what, I might get a final eliminator, or even better, I might get a vacant world title shot when Josh Taylor vacates. I mean, he's only got the WBO now, but now you've got Matthias, you've got an IBF eliminator's been ordered between Ergashev and Stevie Spark out of nowhere. There's big opportunities at 140 pounds, and you've got all the big boys moving up there. Yeah. Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia, they're all going to be at 140 pounds for the next couple of years. So yeah, if you've got world title ambitions, you better win that fight, because otherwise it's over.
Speaking of Johnny Fisher, tomorrow night, if he goes through Damiani in devastating fashion, you talked about an English title fight. I know Sol Dacres is boxing for it next. It's going to be impossible to tempt someone like David Adelaide into a fight with Fisher, but could you maybe get something like Nick Webb for him at the end of the year? What are you looking at? Or do you have to go internationally?
Johnny Fisher, taking away the massive ticket seller that he is, he's very raw, but he's improving and he's getting better. He's a bright kid. He knows exactly where he's at. He's not getting ahead of himself, but you need the opposition that can stand up to the barrage of assault that Johnny Fisher will bring. And once he hurts you, he does need to calm down a little bit. He's all over you. I was on a train coming up, and some guy said to me, "Oh, I'm coming up with Johnny Fisher, 3 or 4 of them. How many rounds are we going to get tomorrow?" I said, honestly, it could be 1.
Yep. 1?
Oh, I want to see some rounds. I said, but once he gets you hurt, but you need Johnny Fisher to go 6, 7, 8 rounds. I like a fight, probably the loser of Sol Dacres against Rob Ismay, which is next week. Really good fight for the English heavyweight title. You know, Adelaide, those guys, they've got a little bit more experience than Johnny Fisher. I still feel like he's 3, 4 fights away. But Nick Webb, yes, you know, also Bennett, you know, who we've seen in against, I think it was Babic. It's a good fight. You know, I feel like he needs those rounds. Hopefully Damiani will give him the rounds, but he's a right handful, Johnny Fisher. I mean, you know, there's certain things that you can't teach. One is chin, and he's got a great chin, and 2 is power and speed, and he has all those things, and he's very raw. And he's susceptible and he's vulnerable at times. But when you've got those attributes as a heavyweight, it gives you a great chance. And when you can sell 1,000 tickets in Liverpool up from Essex, it gives you an even better chance.
That I guess, for someone like Johnny Fisher, that must be your hardest part of promoting him, is finding the right opponent. Because you're trying to keep everyone happy. You got to understand, and everyone understands, that Johnny Fisher's a work in progress. But then you've got the supporters and you've got the fans and the people at home watching. You've got to keep them engaged.
Yeah, I think when you're progressing a fighter, you need to, I don't mean this disrespectfully to travelling fans, you need to kind of distance yourself from the fan base, because you're going to make bad decisions on the development. If you start saying, oh, the fans want more rounds, you take a fight that's too tough for him at this stage in his career. And you don't need to gamble with a young heavyweight, especially one that's as popular as he is. You know, and I think those people that come from Essex and Exeter, they're loyal people. They're up for the journey. Whether it's 1 round or 2 rounds, listen, they're going to be in the bar, they're going to be out tonight, they're going to be, you know, and they're going to have a great experience. But the good news for Johnny Fisher is, and those fans, this is 8 rounds. And sooner or later, 8 turns to 10, and 10 turns to 12.
You don't step back.
No, and you better be good enough to go through those levels. And it's all very well saying work in progress, a bit like Campbell Hatton. Yeah, working, how long? How long are we working in progress? You know, okay, Johnny Fisher's got another 2 or 3 fights till it gets risky. But work in progress only lasts so long before you have to take the jump, or you're not showing the levels. And in this cruel game, you turn around and say, I'm sorry, you've had your development, now you've got to step up. Ready or not, here I come. They can't hide.
And speaking of that, Peter McGrail, similar approach to Galal Yafai in terms of development for him, another 10-rounder in only his, what, 7th fight?
Yeah, you know what I like about these amateurs is some amateurs that come through who haven't looked like big punchers in the amateurs, all of a sudden become big punchers. 6 wins, I think, for him, 5 by knockout already. You know, and one of the criticisms about McGrail, he's outstanding boxer, but I've actually seen a transition of power in the pro ranks from Peter McGrail. This is a good opponent. You saw him drop Zanabek, you know, in a good fight. He's tall, he's in shape, and I think it's going to be a good test for him. I just think Peter McGrail is a standout fighter, and I think, you know, it's not just the ability, it's the temperament, it's the calmness, unbelievable boxing IQ. When you look at the super bantamweight division, there's some really good fights out there. You know, I mean, from our side, you've got Hopi Price. I think that's could be a big fight down there. I think Hopi's another world-class prospect as well. I mean, from the other side, you've got Dennis McCann, who's a real great talent as well. You've also got Ben Davison's charge, who beat Jack Bateson. You're going to remind me of his name. Who again, Shabazz Massoud, who again, people tell me is a very, very good talent as well. I think the super bantamweight division is going to be really interesting moving forward, and Peter McGrail is going to be right at the top of that mix.
Good stuff. All right, thanks, Eddie. Lots to look forward to tomorrow night. All starts with the inaugural Women's Commonwealth title between Rhiannon Dixon and Vicky Wilkinson. Pete McGrail, as we mentioned, against Nicholas Batelli. Second on the bill, Johnny Fisher and Alfonso Damiani. Third, Robbie Davies Jr. and Darragh Foley. Before Diego Pacheco and Jack Cullen do battle in our main event for the M&S Bank Arena. We'll be here at 4:30 for Before the Bell. Myself and Spider Richards will be sitting with Kevin Ajako to call the first 4 fights. Do join us then. Have a good afternoon, folks, and we will see you tomorrow in Liverpool on Fight Night.
From Liverpool, let's get this party
Britain's finest. Oh! Perfectly timed right.
Yeah, I've been waiting on a UK fight for a long time.
Weaver, big Jack Cullen.
Good left hook, and again.
High risk fight for him.
I've been in like a rebuild process. I'm happy with it, yeah. I'm ready to go with some of the big names.
That is a statement victory for Robbie Davies Jr. Switching out the attack. Look at what this means.